Hello. I just finally, after putting it off for honestly a very long time, watched Stephen King's It. And I kind of had a bit of a right to put it off because I did not particularly care for it. I'd say that Tim Curry is the best thing in this. I'm going to call it a movie. It's a mini series, but I'm just going to call it a movie for the sake of my brain. Like he's definitely the best thing in this. Like he does a great job at portraying. He's honestly really funny as Pennywise. Like he does a great job as portraying Pennywise in that sense. Like I I apologize. I'm going to do it like I did with like my review of the book and also Welcome to Derry. Like I'm going to compare it to Bill Skarsgård's version of Pennywise and to the book and to it and it chapter 2 just because like those are so much in my brain and I liked it and it chapter 2 and I loved it Welcome to Derry, so I feel like I sort of have to compare them in that sense. But like Bill Skarsgård portrays Pennywise as a very creepy clown. He's just always creepy. He never acts funny for the most part. Like he doesn't act funny. That's not his spiel. Like it's always creepy. But the thing about Tim Curry's Pennywise is that he acts funny. Like he's honestly really funny as Pennywise. Obviously he does some creepy things here and there, but like he acts really funny as Pennywise. Like the scene in my brain, because it's just so stupidly hilarious, is the library scene, because he's just acting funny, but it's so disturbing to Richie that like it makes the scene disturbing because Pennywise is up like on this railing yelling and screaming and making all these noises to bother Richie, and nobody else can hear Pennywise, so you're just sort of like suffering from secondhand embarrassment for Richie because Richie's basically yelling at this poor woman about like telling Mike that he stopped by because he can't hear himself over Pennywise like laughing and joking and making all these noises, and it's like so funny to me. Like I absolutely loved it, and I loved that bit. Like I thought it was really funny. Like he's very funny as Pennywise. Like he is a clown. Like I think I liked that about Tim Curry as Pennywise, is that he is a clown, and I did really enjoy that. But like other than that, I didn't really care for this. It's really boring, which like honestly sort of relates to the book in that sense. Like this is a more, I'd say in terms of scenes, it's a more faithful adaptation to the book itself. And albeit there's like some smidge frustration about the way that they defeat Pennywise in this book or in this movie. I do kind of like it a little bit more than essentially bullying Pennywise to death, although bullying Pennywise to death makes more sense. So we'll get to the ending later. I took essentially like 2.5 pages of notes, and I sort of just stopped taking notes at one point because I honestly might have zoned out a little bit, being like, and now I'm bored, which is honestly like the second half of this. Like the second half of the book gets really boring. The second half of this mini series gets really fucking boring. So there's that. Most of my notes are complaints, things that they took out or changes that they made that I didn't particularly care for, or like the way that some people are portrayed as well. Like I really didn't like the acting in this movie. I thought it was really dry. I think the two best actors are Seth Green, obviously, and I don't know who it is, but the actor who plays young Bill, I think for the most part he does a really good job of playing Bill, like compared to everybody else. When it comes to the child actors, those are two of the best. I feel like I have high expectations for Seth Green, though. He's Seth Green. Like, he's the only actor in this entire thing besides Tim Curry that I actually know. Although I don't actually think I've ever seen Tim Curry in anything. I feel like that's a lie. But I don't think I have. I've never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm sorry. Like, I have high expectations for Seth Green. I grew up watching Buffy. So like I have very high expectations for seeing Seth Green in something, and he plays a really great Richie. Also like the actor who plays older Richie, I thought he was also pretty great. But even the adult actors I like wasn't particularly a fan of them. They all, and I did write it down, like some of their reactions to getting scared, although this I did write this specifically for a scene with Seth Green, gives off the like Troll 2 meme of they're eating her and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my god. I wrote that down at the scene where the teenage werewolf is attacking Richie because it's just like all of their reactions are like that. They're like, oh my god, it's so bad. Oh my god. Oh my god. And I'm like, it's not this is a very cheap 80s movie is the only way I can describe it. And I did look up the budget. It says it's $12 million, which I don't know, like, first off for inflation, but also first, like, second off, like, compared to other movies made at the time, how that compares in terms of budget to everything else. Like, I think if I had to take a guess, I'd say that I'd put a lot of that budget into the ending. But, like, it's just, like, I mean, it's not even that with just, like, the cheapness of it. It's just, like, it feels like a B-rated horror movie. Like, it feels like a B, maybe even a C-rated horror movie. That's, like, what it gives off. Like, I've never seen Troll or Troll 2, but, like, this is what I imagine those movies consist of. It's definitely got the 80s horror soundtrack. Like, the soundtrack is very, like, Nightmare on Elm Street, like, synthy, shoving down your throat soundtrack, which I don't particularly care for. But, like, it's only obviously when, like, something creepy is happening, because this doesn't also feel like a horror movie. Like, I mean, I'm very numb to horror at this point, but it doesn't feel scary to me. And the thing about it is that the Pennywise is not the scary part, it's the humans that are in the world, and Pennywise's influence on those humans, and it doesn't give us enough of a depth with those humans. Like, there's so much content within it, and this, I know I'm all over the place with this review, but bear with me. but the thing about the book is that there's a lot of content and there's a lot of context, and you can take out the sort of history of it. They like briefly mention things here and there, but this movie, this miniseries, felt like it took scenes from the book and like plopped them on in there. Like, I'm glad that the Barrens scene is in this. Like, I love that bit with the Barrens because it takes place, I mean, not all of them build the Barrens together, unlike in here where they all build it together except for Mike. Or even Mike. No, I've already forgotten if Mike helps them build the Barrens. No, he doesn't. But like, they all build the Barrens together except for Mike in this, and I'm pretty sure they don't. I'm pretty sure Bev doesn't help them build the Barrens in the book. And well, Bev and Mike don't help them build the Barrens in the book, but or not the Barrens, the dam in the Barrens in the book. Um where was I going with this? But like, they take that scene and they put it in here, but it feels very random. Like, specifically all the like fun scenes, all the scenes of them being happy, of them being kids, like even the like them being happy at the Chinese restaurant scene, which like felt like an 80s rom-com montage scene, but like it felt out of place in this. And the same thing with like somebody walking in, or like them like showing us in the middle of Ben's story about how he loses all of his weight. Like, it feels random. That one felt a little bit more natural because it's like, oh, we're just catching into him telling this story, and if you've read the book, you know the whole story. If you don't, then you're like, okay, here's why Ben Ben is so skinny now. But like, it felt sort of out of place a lot of the times with these scenes and stuff like that. Let's get back on track. Let's talk about my nuts. The first thing that I wrote down, and I wrote it down basically at the beginning, but it still felt like that throughout all of this. There's this feels like a crime drama more than a horror movie, and I wrote that down at the beginning where Mike is talking to the cop, but like, even throughout the rest of it, it's like, this is a drama. It's not a horror movie, it's a drama. Like, it's weird. It doesn't feel horror to me. Like, I think it's trying to take horror and it's trying to take drama and like mesh it all together, but it doesn't work really well. I think that it's a weird thing to say. I think that the writers might have been overwhelmed by how much content is in this book. Like, maybe they were told, hey, you can make an adaptation of It by Stephen King, and they're like, all right, cool. And then they read the book and they're like, oh my god, how the fuck do you make an adaptation of this book? Which is a fair question. I don't think you truly can. But it was very, like, plopping scenes here and there. Like, the dam is such a key portion of the book, and so it makes sense to put it in here, but it doesn't work well, and it feels like they plop stuff in. And yeah, my second note, which is, I understand now throughout watching it, I understand it. Like, this is trying to be more of a PG-13 sort of horror movie. Like, the very little violence, essentially no cussing, except they're allowed to use the N-word, which makes no sense to me. But it's the 80s. I didn't exist then. But that still makes no sense to me. Like, you can't drop an F-bomb, but you can use the N-word. That's fucking bullshit. But, like, this is for two very specific scenes, actually, because the second one actually genuinely pissed me off, because I feel like both of them are very key important scenes that they were like, no, we're just gonna de-violence them a little bit. And I'm like, one of those you cannot. Like, it's part of their entire group, and I feel like it ruins the dynamic of the group because of it. But the first one is that it's a really bad thing to say, but Ben doesn't actually get stabbed. Like, I think they're trying to tone down the bullying, which makes sense. Like, tone it down, do more, like, cheesy 80s style, I'm gonna shove you into a locker bullying, and the threat of violence, but not actually committing to it. Although, in this stance, it's like Ben, like, the kids always get away before the violence actually occurs, but it's just, like, it's such a key, important moment for Ben to get stabbed, like, to get carved out, and I think they were just kind of like, we can, like, infer, because the violence happens to the adults. Like, you see the violence occur on the adults, but you never see the violence occur to the kids. The violence is always off screen, and I'm sure that had something to do with it coming out at a certain time. Like, definitely we have higher expectations for violence in terms of against kids now. Like, you will see violent scenes happen to kids now, and all of us sort of being like, you know, it sucks to watch it, but that's fine. I don't know why my brain thinks to the very, very long child murder scene in Doctor Sleep. But, like, speaking of Stephen King, but, like, it makes sense to me. But with Ben, it's just like, it's such a key, he has to get stabbed. There's no other way to say it. Like, him, like, because the scene just gets awkward after that. Like, part of it is that, like, Bill is not only trying to save Eddie's life by going and getting his medicine, but he's also getting stuff for Ben at the same time to help him. And that scene was just weird in general, because, like, Bill comes back and Eddie seems fine, like, perfectly fine, and Eddie's just, like, explaining who Bill is to Ben, and I'm like, I won't say we, I, as an audience member, know that his asthma is a placebo effect. He doesn't actually have asthma. But, like, if you're seeing this for the first time and you have asthma, you'd be like, that's not how asthma works. That's not how asthma works. So it's just a weird thing to just, like, be like, he's dying, and then I'm gonna go and get his medicine, and now I come back and you two are buddies, and he seems fine, but he's still taking his inhaler and acting like he was about to die. And Ben's just like, yeah, I thought he was gonna pass out on me. And I was like, he was literally telling you about Georgie. How the fuck did you think he was gonna pass out on you? Like, I just, it's things like that where it just, like, plops up here and there. Like, they all sort of just randomly run into each other, and I think they're trying to, like, fast forward ways into all of them meeting, even though it's obvious when they go to scenes in the school, which we'll get to that. It's scenes in the school where it's like, oh, they're all in the same class together. Like, cause the only one that would make sense where they're not in the same class together is Mike. But apparently Mike goes to their school, which, like, fine. Whatever. Like, them all being in the same school makes sense, but, like, they're all like, and this is this person and this is that person. I'm like, you're all in the same class. There are scenes of you all in the same classroom together. You clearly all go to school together. Derry does not seem like a very big town. Why are you all introducing each other? Like, clearly, like, the only one from this stance who should be introduced to one another is Ben, because it's introduced that Ben is the new kid and it makes sense, but nobody else. And I didn't think this would make me so angry, but it does. I'm like, you should all know each other. Like, given I think part of it is that I went to a really small elementary school, and part of it is that, like, we split up into groups. I was in a Spanish immersion program, and there were 12 kids in my class. I knew every single one of those people by name. I wasn't friends with all those people, but I knew all those people. There was a new person, we would all get to know that person, like, almost immediately. It wasn't this random bullshit of being like, oh yeah, I just watched you almost get shanked, so now we're gonna be friends and I'm gonna introduce you to all of my friends. And it's like, you should all clearly at least kind of know each other by name, at least. So, like, it makes no sense that, like, I don't know. Step off on my high horse of that. My next note that I actually put in later, I don't know why I didn't write it down immediately. I think I was just delusional. Ben's poem makes no sense in this adaptation. And I thought I could work past it, but then they kept talking about it, and they're like, your hair is winter fire, January embers, and I was like, she is not a redhead. This poem makes no fucking sense. The entire poem is about how red her hair is. And she's not a red, like, it's not all about that. It's basically him also being like, and I love you, but, like, he's essentially comparing the love of his heart, like the burning of his heart, to her fiery hair. And the fact that she's not a Bev is not a redhead in this, it makes no fucking sense. And I'm like, you could have, you know, if you were so keen on both of the actresses, slap a wig on that. Slap a wig on that. Like, I'd just slap a wig on that, ask them to dye their hair, like, I just, the poem makes no sense. Because I didn't think I'd be going on a tangent for 18 minutes, but, like, this poem makes no fucking sense. Because she's not a redhead in this, and I'm like, that's part of it. Is that she's a redhead. She has very red hair. On to something that I liked. Is that I did like the flashbacks at the beginning from when they were adults and they get the phone call and it's like, hey, it's Mike, and it sort of like does a very stupid 80s zoom. We're going to bypass the stupid 80s zoom, but it does a very stupid 80s zoom, and then it's like, and now they're kids again. And it's still like a very specific scene. I did like that. I thought it was fun. It's a good way of storytelling. It's very similar to the book in that sense, where it's like, oh, so-and-so got the phone call, and now we're going to think back to, like, usually it's their first time seeing it, but I thought it was fun. I liked it. I thought it was good. It's a good bit. Speaking of adults, this was a stupid question, but, like, why no Eddie's wife? They turned him into a 40-year-old virgin, which, like, is fine, but, like, part of the thing about when they're adults is that their spouses relate back to their past. Like, it still happens for the most part, although they never mention that Audra looks like Bev. But, like, Audra's supposed to look like Bev, Eddie is supposed to essentially marry his mom, and Bev is supposed to essentially marry her father. And so Bev, although they're not married for some reason, but they are dating, like, Bev is in a relationship with a man who is exactly like her father. Audra, the actress, Alyssa Hussey, I want to say it is, but, like, she looks a lot like the actress who plays Bev. Like, they have very similar hair, they don't look exactly the same, but, like, similar features, brown hair, like, greenish brownish eyes, like, very similar features that, like, if someone were to be like, hey, Bill, you married a woman that kind of looks a lot like Bev, no one would really question it. So, like, that kind of makes sense, but it's just, like, I found it strange that instead, I guess in a way it kind of makes sense that, like, to change it from Eddie marrying a woman exactly like his mother to instead still be living with his mother. Like, I thought that was interesting, and she's still very overprotective of him, and I think they were just trying to, like, slap that in there, but it's just, I don't know. It was a weird thing to change for me, honestly. I think you could still get away with it. Or honestly, because when he was like, in a minute, Ma, I was like, did he accidentally call his wife Ma? And then the woman stepped out, and I was like, nah, I don't think that's right. And he kept calling her Ma, and I was like, oh, so that is his mother. All right, cool. They just got rid of his wife. Fine. Like, I just thought it was a weird change. It's not that I necessarily hated it, I just thought it was an odd one. Like, I guess for him it still makes sense, but it was weird. So, I have a stupid thing, which I think I'm going to talk about my second tangent first. My second tangent is probably more than my second tangent, but we're going to talk about it, which was we're going to get back to the school thing, because it makes this movie, this miniseries, very confusing, because there's two scenes where they talk about how they had a really fun summer. This was the greatest summer of their life. But one of those scenes, I want to say, takes place where it's like, this was a great summer, and then like two scenes later, they're at school. And I thought that was odd. I was like, oh, maybe it's going back and forth between them at school and them during the summer, which is weird, but like, fine. It's a weird jump, kind of confusing, whatever. But then at the scene at the Paramount where like they dump the popcorn and the soda on top of Henry Bowers, it's like they run away, and then at school, like essentially probably like the next day or a couple days later, Henry Bowers confronts Richie. And so it's like, this isn't taking place during the summer, it's taking place during the school year, which then makes no sense to everybody's comments about how it's been a great summer, like we're having so much fun during the summer. It's like, it seems like it's implied this takes place in like May or June or some shit like that, like right before summer starts, essentially. Or maybe summer starts like halfway through, but like they never address it. It's strange, it's odd, they don't ever talk about it. And so it's just like, it was a weird thing. I'm like, why are you at school? Why are you mentioning fun summer? It's like, I feel like they took lines from the book and didn't change them. And it's like, clearly this is not taking place during summer, it's taking place during the school year. So it makes no sense to me, like in that stance. It's like, why are you adding these scenes at school anyways? They serve no purpose except maybe Mike's like history spiel and the teacher like not wanting to listen about it. But it's just like, honestly, you didn't even have to add that scene in, especially because I added it in twice, and we all know how I feel about putting in flashbacks from scenes we've already seen. Because it makes me think that they think their audience is made up of idiots. But like, I didn't, I don't understand why they did it. It's like, I think they wanted to have certain scenes take place at the school, because that's where like Richie gets attacked, or my comment about being attacked by showerheads is really stupid. And I know I had seen bits of that shower scene before, because I don't know, from something where like Pennywise hops out of like moves the thing or the grate or whatever and hops out, and he's just like on his palm, and he's, you know, being Pennywise. But it's just like, watching that scene and the showerheads coming out, it's so stupid. It's like 80s level horror stupid, which makes sense. This was filmed in the 80s. It came out in the 80s. That makes sense. But I'm just like, oh my god. What the fuck? What the fuck? Whatever. I'm gonna move on. We're gonna get to the Rock War now, which also feels, I mean, that one helps a little bit more because it is more towards the book for the most part, where it's just like Mike gets attacked and then he runs away, he runs into the Losers Club, and the Rock War starts. But it's like, it's set up in like a weird Western stance. They're like, the Losers Club are taking the high ground, and then they start throwing rocks, and it's like slow motion bullshit because they're so trying to hide the fact that these kids are getting injured. And like, and Henry Bowers gives up so easily, and I'm like, that doesn't feel like something book Henry Bowers would do. Like, book, this edition of Henry Bowers is a pussy. He's a pussy, and I don't like it. I'm like, you're so tame, you're so 80s typical bully. It's boring. Like, he'll like take out the knife, but he'll never use it. He'll like be like, I'm gonna kill you, and then like walk away. He looks like a greaser. Like, they gave him like such a greaser look to it. And I'm just like, he looks like he's about to like start singing or whatever from Grease. Like, he looks like a greaser. He looks so fucking stupid, and he's just like, which is it's very like 80s trying to be like 60s. It makes, or I guess 50s, like it makes sense, but it's just like the Rock War was so dumb, and I think it's just because like part of me is comparing it to like the other movie, and the rock war scene in that movie is so fun. Like, I love that scene so much, with like Richie just screaming rock war, and then like the music kicks in, they start like throwing, and this felt more like a western like standoff, and it seemed really stupid, and I was like not as big of a fan of it. And then I didn't take another note until like essentially halfway through, like at the end of part 1, because this is, at least, well, I watched this on my TV, but it was like from 2 discs that we used to own. So like part 1 ends after the kids defeat Pennywise. I know that if you like watch it on HBO Max, it's like just 3 hours straight. And the thing that made me thoroughly enraged is that they don't do a blood oath. They all just like put their hands in the middle and like hold hands, and they're like, I'm in, I'll come back. And I'm like, that. The blood oath needs to occur. I know you don't want to show violence against children, but like the blood oath, it needs to happen. It is a key essential part of the book, and like it has to occur. And the fact that they're all just like, they essentially made the equivalent of a pinky promise. And that's why I didn't feel like I could take them coming back as adults seriously enough, because the whole point of them as kids is that they physically made a blood oath. Like, which, you're adding in the pain to some people like Eddie, you're adding in the uncomfortability of like sharing blood, possibility of like, transmitted diseases through that. Like, it's just, you're sharing blood, you're sharing a huge oath with each other, and like the pain and the promise of being like, we will never let this happen again, and if it does happen again, we will come back and we will stop it. And the fact that they were all just like, no, we'll pinky promise it, and like we'll just come back, at that point it's like I could not take anything seriously. I couldn't take I couldn't take Stan's decision to kill himself seriously in that moment then, because it's like, it felt like it could have been half-assed. Like, I couldn't take Richie's such huge hesitance of wanting to go into the sewers as an adult seriously, because he didn't. They're all like, but we made a promise. And I'm like, you making a promise is not the same as you being like, but we made a promise and there was blood and pain involved. Like, that thoroughly enraged me. Like, I was like, you're not, and they're all like, I promise, I promise, I promise. I was like, is Stan gonna pick up like a Coke bottle or like a shard of glass to make the blood oath like he does in the book? And then he didn't. I was like, what the fuck? Like, oh my god, that like genuinely pissed me off. Like, throughout most of this, I've been like, I'm bored, they're doing decisions that make no sense to me, but whatever, it's fine. It's like kind of confusing, but I'll take it. But the blood oath thing thoroughly enraged me. Like, I was just like, no, you took a very key, extremely important part, because then it's like the scar disappears when they leave and comes back when they start to remember, and they don't even mention that because they never even took a blood oath. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. A scene that they took out, which I understand why you'd want to condense the scene a little bit, but then it makes the relationship much more lacking. I'm trying to be vague. I don't know why. So, in this, Mike already has Silver, like Bill's bike. He already has Silver. He already bought it, and he has all the stuff to fix Silver. And it takes away from Bill's absolute love of this bike. I feel like you can't really explain his love of this bike on screen very well. I think that It Chapter 2 did a really good job of that, although it was sort of like added in a strange way, because it wasn't really in It Chapter 1 as much. But like, it worked better in that. And this is just sort of like, and I have your bike back. And every once in a while you hear him scream like, hey yo, Silver, away, and they have the stupid ending of him like riding with Audra on the bike, and then she comes out of her weird stupor coma. But like this, where he's like, I already have this bike, and they like fix it up together, and it's like, I liked that scene in the book where they fix it up together, but it's like, Bill is the person who's supposed to find the bike again. Like it's a very key moment in the book, especially for Bill, and I find it really annoying that Mike's the one that has it. Like it's cute where he's just like, Mike, I have this bike again, and I did think that like them riding the bike around in the playground at the school later was really fun, but like that was another added scene that just felt like it was plopped in there for no apparent reason other than to be like, this bike is really important to Bill. And I'm like, okay, you could have probably portrayed that a little bit better, like a scene where he finds it at a pawn shop and buys it because it's his bike. That's a thought. So that's another one. On to a little bit of higher note. We're going back to the library scene because I love it. But props to the actors in that scene for being able to sit very calmly and essentially not flinch at all, or flinch only the smidgest, tiniest microscopic bit when getting absolutely sprayed with blood. I was like, you know what, props to you people, because like I think if I was told you have to sit down, you have to pretend like you're reading, and we're gonna shoot a cannon of blood at you and you can't react to it, I would have been like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. But like they did a great job at that. I loved that bit. Like that scene is so funny. I'm honestly kind of sad they took it out of the newer versions of it. Like I think that scene would have been really fun. It would have been so stupid. Like like you didn't need to put it in there in It Chapter 2, but I would have loved it in It Chapter 2. I know this is a complaint that I had in the book, but I really don't like Bev. I don't like Bev. I love her in It Chapter 2, but in this it's very similar to the book, but in a weird way. Like her relationship with the boys is very strange. Like it makes sense. She's like, and I fell in love with all of you, but she seems like she, especially after like her and Ben get together, which like first off, slight side tangent, they took out the infidelity scene, which like fine, whatever. I don't really care, but it was just like it was a thing I had to mention. They took out her having sex with Bill, but like I feel like I had to mention it. But like especially after she gets into a relationship with Ben, like she acts like she needs to constantly be touching every man in this thing, or like when they all reunite and she like goes up to every single one of them and kisses them on the mouth, and I'm like, I think like obviously the child orgy does not occur in this because Eddie even admits he's a 40-year-old virgin, but it is strange the way that she like acts around them, where she acts as if she's, you know, essentially in a relationship with all of them. And it occurs in the book too, I think, not to just like this extreme extent, but she's such a damsel in distress, and she's kind of a badass at the end because she's like, yeah, I'm gonna shoot the shit out of this guy, and then I'm or out of it in his spider form, and then, you know, we're gonna go and confusedly what is apparently ripping at his heart, but you never see it because they're trying not to be very violent about it. We're gonna get to that. But like it's she's just, every time you see her in a scene after her and Ben make out, he's like wrapped his arms around her. Or even before that, she's like sitting on the couch and he's like massaging her shoulders, or like she's just like flirting with all of them. And she does it when they're kids too, but it's like they're playing around, but like it's weird. I don't know, I can't quite explain it, but the way that she interacts with them as adults gives me the ick. I can't explain the ick, but it gives me an ick. When they're kids, I don't see it. Like she's being funny, flirty, but it's fine. But like as adults, it gives me the ick. I cannot exactly say why though. And now we essentially get to the end where they defeat it, and I understand that they're trying to keep the violence to a minimum. Like they're trying to keep it not very violent. They want it to be more of like a PG-13, like cosmic-esque horror-y thing mixed with some crime drama and some fun bits here and there. Like I understand that's sort of the vibe that this is going for, but when they run up to it in its spider form and they just start like, there's fast shots of this, and I'm like, are they punching it? Are they kicking it? What is happening? I don't know. And then it's like they essentially, what I'm assuming is the heart of it. They like take it out and raise it up, but it's only a shadow, and it does like a thumpy sound. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's its heart. But like it is weird. Like I'm just like, okay, I don't entirely know what's happening until the end. But it's just like the way that they do it is it's just like, What's going on? Are we kicking it? Are we punching it? Are we just like pummeling it? What's going on? And I thought it was an interesting way to defeat it, where it's just like I like the different interpretations of trying to defeat it, because as I've said in my book review, you cannot recreate the ritual of Chud. You just can't. You read that book and you're like, yeah, that shit's unadaptable. You can't put that in a fucking movie or a show. But like with this, it's just like there's the interpretation of bullying the shit out of him and then ripping his heart out. And then this one, it's not bullying the shit out of it, it's beating the shit out of it and then ripping its heart out. And I think it's a really interesting adaptation for it. It's just my issue with it is that you can't see much that's going on, so you don't entirely know what the fuck is happening until you essentially see them raise something questionable in the air with a shadow, and then you hear boom, 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 and then it stops beating, and I'm like, oh, it's heart. Great. Cool. And it makes no sense to me. Also, no turtles. Not even references to turtles. I just realized that. How fucking dare they. I don't know why I have the absolute obsession with the turtles. For the even hints of turtles. Got two more notes. Which most of them are just stupid notes. One of them is that, like, there's the scene of Mike, like, writing and narrating in the hospital room, and I noticed that he's writing in, like, a basic composition notebook, like, with the black and like the black notebook with like the white splotches, full-blown composition notebook, and that made me laugh way too hard. I was just like, wow, he's just writing in a whole composition notebook. I wrote that, and then my last note is just stop kissing and get out of the road, because stop kissing and get out of the road. I'm specifically mentioning Audra and Bill. I'm like, stop kissing, get out of the road. So those are all my thoughts, or they're not my thoughts, those are all my notes. And I'm glad I watched it. I think that Tim Curry did a really good job. I'm never watching this ever again. It's really boring. It's like the changes that they make, for the most part, I don't care about, but some of the key changes that they made are like changes that shouldn't have occurred. Like that going back to the blood oath, like you have to make the blood oath. Like you can't not make the blood oath. And so I find it really frustrating in that sense that they changed that scene. Like not like I've stated before that I will watch something. I actually prefer to watch adaptations before I even read things, because I think that if I like read a thing beforehand, I probably wouldn't enjoy the adaptation as much. Like controversial take, I actually really like the Percy Jackson movies. They're garbage adaptations, but they're fun movies. And so that's how I feel about this. Or it's like I love the Mortal Instruments movie. I've never read the book, but I love that movie. I think that movie's so fun. But like in this one, it's just like I couldn't not compare it to the book, but I think even if I hadn't read the book, I would have known enough stuff about it to be like, some of this doesn't seem right. But also, like, even from a production standpoint, it's like when they mention like, oh, this was a really fun summer, I'm like, but you're still in school. How is the summer if you're still in school? Like I wouldn't know what was happening at the ending again, because it's just like I don't know what's going on. Like I think that like a lot of the the things that they changed wouldn't even have changed my mind, as it'd be like, that's not what I mean. Like, even if I hadn't read the book, I don't think it would have changed my mind on my thoughts on a lot of what had occurred in this. Like, it's just, like, it's not that entertaining to me. And so, it's just, I really should go back and rewatch, like, It and It Chapter 2, because I loved those movies. It's been a minute since I've seen them, though. But, like, this one, it was just, it's not it for me. I will never watch it again, probably. It's just like it wasn't that entertaining. A lot of the changes sort of irritated me. The acting is very mediocre, and I honestly don't think it's coming from the actors. I think it's coming from the director. Like, I think the director was not giving very good recommendations. Like I said, a lot of the acting is giving Troll to, she's eating her, or they're eating her, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my god. Like, that's what it's giving, and it's just like, it's dumb, and I don't like it. So that could also be that I honestly haven't seen a whole lot of 80s horror in a minute. Yeah, I want to say like the original Nightmare on Elm Street was the last time I watched an 80s horror movie, and it's been like 3 years since I last watched that movie. So it's, yeah, well, yeah, we'll see. I think those are all my thoughts. I talked for 42 minutes and now my throat hurts. But yeah, those I feel like that wraps it up for all the It reviews for now. I think they're making a season 2 of It Welcome to Derry, which I'm okay with because I loved that show. So, and I would love to see them adapt a different story from Derry for that. But yeah, but that's it for all the It things that are occurring. Thank you for watching this very long review of Stephen King's It, aka It the miniseries with Tim Curry. Yeah, let me know if you've seen it and what you thought of it. I don't know if you found it, gave it as scathing a review as I did, but you know, yeah, I'm gonna go watch something fun now to sort of ignore the fact that half of this thing made me irritated and the other half made me really bored. So, yeah, but thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. Bye bye.